Rwanda's economy grew 7.8% in the first quarter of 2025, according to the BNR, that is building on 8.9% growth last year. Strong governance, business-friendly reforms, and macroeconomic stability are keeping investors confident. I was earlier joined by Teddy Kaberuka, an economic analyst, to explain what this means for Rwanda's long-term growth and opportunities.
Well, when you see the GDP growth of Rwanda is really consistent. There hasn't been so much fluctuation, and I would say the consistency comes from different reasons, but the main reason is the policy consistency. So the policy change or the policy adaptation, because things keep changing, and Rwanda decided or took the direction to keep updating its policy environment so that it cope with the changes. And that policy adaptation yield a lot of results. Back to your question, when I see the GDP growth in 2025, early 2025, 2024, the drivers are the service sector, which is really contributing to the, close to 45% to the GDP. Then the manufacturing sector, which is the second big contributor. Unfortunately, agriculture comes the last. And yet, if you see the population size and the workforce in agriculture, it absorbs the majority of the population. So I would say the structure is not the ideal. The ideal situation would be agriculture contributing a big portion, and then sector, and then manufacturing. But that's, I would say, those are like structural challenges a country has, and over time it has to be adjusted to adapt. Because when we say GDP growth, it has a very direct correlation with the purchasing power of the population, the job creation, the wealth creation, and those ones should be touching the normal citizen in the villages.
So we can say structural policies are what are needed to make agriculture, do better, despite it being the biggest, shareholder when it comes to the driver of Rwanda's economy, right?
Well, the structural change I'm talking should be changing the shift in a way that agriculture remains a sector, but occupying less people. Instead of having 70% of the population being in agriculture, let's reduce them. Like keep 10 to maybe 20 to 25% of the population being in agriculture, and then producing for the rest of the population. And then shift the population from agriculture subsistence to service industry, even to manufacturing. So in that situation, then it changes the dynamics, because the majority of the population will be working, actually, making money, and then come and consume what is being grown in agriculture. But that is in long term. Don't think it's something which can happen overnight.
Not just at the touch of a button. So, yes, so looking at inflation and at the monetary policy here, Teddy, we do see that inflation rose to about 6.9%, that is mid-2025. Yes, still within the target band of,
actually
7%,
I would say, the acceptable range of between 2 and 8% is there, and the central government target of 7%. We are
currently at 7.1%.
Yes.
So let us look at how Rwanda can balance, the price stability with the need to support continued economic growth.
Yeah, well, you see, to have that stability, the price stability, there are so many factors. Domestic factors and then external. It's very much, I would say, much flexible for the government to address the domestic, things like monetary policy, all policy related to money circulation, loans, disbursement, and the domestic. It's possible to have some policies, and actually the government has done quite a lot in the last 12 months. We saw how the monetary policy was really played a very big role in stabilizing prices. Policy with the repo rate from the central bank, but When we go to the other side of external factors, things like inflation globally, things like price of oil globally, things like security, the trends and speculation on the global market. Those are the external factors which come and really squeeze out the Rwandan economy, and everyone is affected. So I think balancing and adapting both monetary policy and fiscal policy, which is a very big piece contributing to that price stabilization, is also very important.
Yeah, and I said you always, often cite business-friendly reforms and also governance as pillars of Rwanda's growth. So in terms of the investment climate here, what are some of the recent reforms or initiatives that you have seen or you think have the most impact on attracting long-term investors in the country?
Well, there is the most recent investment policy, the revised one, released in 2024. It is just last year.
Yes.
And this was the first year for implementation, which was even much flexible. So it's really facilitated foreign investors or whoever, being corporate, being small investors coming to Rwanda and operate and do their businesses, and facilitate them to access loans, to access different permits. That bureaucracy actually has been very much write-off. And then on top of that investment policy, there was also the establishment of one-stop, how is it called? Is it one-stop service, something like that?
Yes, one-stop kind of, okay, let's say one-stop service, like
yes,
one-stop board or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you walk in, you apply for the certificate. If you need any particular certificate or license, you just within the same premises. You get or if you need the support, if you need a bank account, if you need a license to exploit these services. So within that one-stop services, investors or business operators are being facilitated in a very quick.
So there's the ease of doing business for investors in Rwanda.
Yes. So if someone has any intention to open a company, it feels like you are riding on a highway. So it really attracts people even without much appetite for business. And then beyond that, related services. It's not only investment, but even support services. Things like financial services, If you are anyone with a company, you open immediately a bank account, it's much easier. So you transact. For investors, when they want to repatriate their capital, it's simple. No bureaucracy, no other administrative requirements as it is in some countries. So it's really create that environment where people feel like, oh, if I do my business here, if I want to take back my money, if I want the bank loans, if I'm transferring money from home to this host country, it's possible, or even the other way around. So those are the related services which facilitate.
And maybe your outlook for the country in terms of the economy, maybe for the next quarter?
The next quarter, this year, when you see the different parameters, I would say it's very optimistic. The environment is not quite hostile. There's a very high chance that we can reach again 8 to 9% growth, and agriculture sector was very good for this season. The only challenge Rwanda is facing as we speak now is the regional stability, because we saw what happened very recently in Tanzania after the election with the demonstration people. The trucks were stuck somewhere, so they can affect the flow of goods and services, the exports. And I would say also another challenge for this quarter at least the international markets, the price fluctuation on the global markets may also affect, especially the oil sector, and that affects definitely the domestic markets. For the coming quarter, which is quarter 3 for the fiscal year, we are not expecting any big changes because all the indicators show that the growth will remain in the same direction.